So the copy is done now. Now once it is copied and we know this container is running for last 5 minutes, actually there is a command by which you can go inside the Docker container. So let's go inside the Docker container and see whether this is being copied properly or not. So for that we need to do docker exec and then it and then the container. You can give either container name or maybe container ID. Everything is fine. But once you do that, you will be inside the container. Once you go inside the container, you can, if you remember, we copied under this directory, right? So you can go to that particular directory and see if the Pega dump file is available. And here it is. So now Pega dump file is available. What we need to do basically, we need to restore this dump inside the container, and for that you have pg underscore restore capital U Postgres -d Postgres and Pega dump. Okay, and once you do that, it will take some time. So I'll again post the video, but once it is done, we'll be able to see the data inside the database. Okay, so the dumping of the data is completed. Now let's see if the Pega rule schema and data schema are present inside the database. So if you remember from the, I did not refresh my screen, so there is no Pega data schema rule schema right now, and this is actually referring to the state of the database before the dumping happened. Now let me refresh it, and if you see we have the data schema and rule schema ready. So basically dumping did all the tasks needed, and it created all the necessary supporting table and DB object and schema and everything and for Pega installation. So now from the Postgres perspective, we are good. Okay, now we need to install or run the Pega Docker container. So to do that, we have another Docker file. So let me first exit from the container. Once you exit, we'll do cd dot dot to go back to the previous directory, and then we'll go to the Pega web directory. So Pega web directory has few files. The one that we need basically is the Postgres jar. We'll see how we can get it. Pega prweb.war file, which we have extracted into prweb directory, which is needed. So you can get the prweb.war file from the Pega installation media. Let me show you again from where you can get. Okay, so to get the Postgres jar file, which is required for the JDBC connection, what we can do is we can quickly search in Google Postgres JDBC driver download. So once we go there, we can go to the download page, and it will list out all the jar files. So one of the maybe we can take the latest one from here, and once we download it, put into the correct directory. So make sure that the directory where we are downloading the file is under Pega web. So the version can be different if it is not present for you as the same exact version. You can still use some latest version also. Okay, so once you get the web.war file, you need to extract it, and then you will get web directory, which is basically required in the container, because we are copying the web under the containers directory here. So, and then we are modifying the permission, and then we are providing all the necessary environment variable. So the environment variable what we have used here, one main thing is JDBC URL. We'll see how we can form the JDBC URL. Then you are using JDBC class. It's basically related to Postgres dive, Postgres, and then the db underscore username, which is Postgres. If you remember from the previous uh, video or lecture, that Postgres username is Postgres and password is also Postgres. So what the same thing we have provided here. Now one important thing is that we know the database is going to be exposed in 5432, but we don't know the IP address. So let's see how we can get the IP address of this particular Postgres container. So to do that, we know the Docker container ID, and I will copy the container ID, and then what we'll do, we'll inspect this container, Docker inspect container ID. This will give you all the necessary detail from inside the container. Now, once you go to the network section, you will see there is a IP address, which is IPv4 IP address mentioned here, and the same IP address basically I am taking and putting it here. Okay, so now IP address in container is very volatile thing. Like once a container is dead or container is deleted, IP address might change, and for that also we can create a service and use that service name instead. But that's a little bit complicated process, so I'm not going into that direction. If you have Docker knowledge, you can use that. But for the simplicity, we'll just copy the IP address here and we'll use the same IP address. And then let's see how you can make Pega up and running. Okay, so to make Pega up and running, we are already in Pega code directory. What we need to do, we need to build the image first. So for that, we have build command, and we'll give it name like Pega. Okay, now the build is completed. Now what we'll do is run this. So for running it, we need to do the port mapping, because if you remember, we have 8080 as the container port, but this container port is not going to be accessible from my local host or the computer. Okay, so to expose this 8080 container port to be accessible from the laptop, I need to map this particular port to something. Okay, and for simplicity, I'm giving the same port name. And then once we give the port name, what we need to do, we need to basically put few more parameter. Let me see. Yeah. So we have given Pega as an image name, so that we can provide and then run it. So you see, all things are coming up now. Pega rules coming up, right? So in the meantime, let me do one thing. Let me try to access Pega from browser, and for that I will open a Google Chrome. So this is localhost 8080. Okay. So if you see the log is continuously coming, this is basically container log coming directly from the Pega application. So once Pega is up and running, I should be able to access Pega from this 8080 port using the localhost. So let's wait for a few more minutes, because it will take some time to start up. But once it is started, we should be able to log into Pega using the Pega default user credential. So I'll pause my video. Yeah, but if you see, I think it was pretty fast. So if you see, we are using now Pega is up and running in my local host, and we're using administrator@pega.com. And as you know, this is having a default password which is install. So let's use the default password and user ID to log into the system. And every time Pega is started, initially it takes some time to build up the cache and things like that, right? So it will be a little bit slower, but if you see, we are able to log into the Pega successfully, and we are able to install Pega very quickly also. Now, this might seem like a little bit complicated process, but what we can do probably, these two Docker files can be linked together using a Docker Compose. And if we use Docker Compose, then probably we can even minimize the times to install Pega. And it would be like a Docker build and Docker Compose build and Docker Compose run. But maybe I'll show you in another video how to do that later point of time. But for the time being, if you see, yeah, this is Pega and Pega is up and running using Docker. Thanks for your time. See you later.